5D Mark IV R5. Was the R5's autofocus just bested by the 5D Mark IV in low light? Kind of. Let's talk about it. If you're new to my channel, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button. I like to talk about cameras in sense for video. So hit that subscribe button. Let's kind of get into it. Now, if you're here and you just want a straight up answer, was the R5 kind of bested by the 5D Mark IV? Well, no. The R5's autofocus, dual pixel autofocus 2, is incredible. It's great. It works fabulous. But the 5D Mark IV's dual pixel autofocus is also amazing. And you know those shots where you get like the little square or little eye when it's like focused on the actual individual? What I noticed from my apples to apples comparison between the R5 and the 5D Mark IV is that the 5D Mark IV did a better job in a very low lit scenario. I was just lit in this dark room and it's nighttime just by this one light that I've got in front of me. The box would actually follow me for a lot longer on the 5D Mark IV than it did on the R5, which I noticed as I'm looking at the screen like, whoa, it's actually following me for a longer time. But the R5's autofocus in low light was still working. It just didn't have a square over my eye or over my face. Now let's kind of go over these tests that I've got. In regular lighting situation, I put the 5D Mark IV and the R5 in like a well-lit scenario because I wanted to see how good is the autofocus. Now I'm one who believes that those squares that you see on your camera do not tell you that the autofocus is working. It's just an indicator that I recognize a face or I recognize an eye, but it's not telling you I'm in focus of that object. If you know anything about the GH5 can find your face right away, but when it comes to focusing on your face, it doesn't always work. However, these two cameras were able to find me pretty well in pretty similar scenarios, but the R5's ability to find you faster with that was amazing. It could actually lock in on you and make sure that it's got you. However, when you just look at the pure footage without those boxes in the way, I can honestly attest to the fact that the R5's autofocus was quicker at finding me than the 5D Mark IV. The 5D Mark IV was a hair slower, but still did an incredible job. Next, when it came to the low light situation that we were just talking about, the 5D Mark IV kind of blew me away. It didn't gather as much light for whatever reason, and the R5 does a lot better job of gathering the light, even though I had both at f2.8. Because of the larger crop on the 5D Mark IV, that f2.8 is like an f3.5, which makes the shot a little bit darker. However, the 5D Mark IV was able to not only lock on me and recognize that it was a face under a darker situation, but keep me in focus for a long time. The R5 wasn't able to highlight me in all the situations where the 5D Mark IV was. However, the R5 did also an excellent job of finding my face. Though it's a bit concerning that you'll think that you're out of focus when you're technically totally in focus. So, kind of stinks, but that's a point for the 5D Mark IV. There you go. Now, I also did tests of white balance. I wanted to check both cameras to see if there was a significant difference in white balance. When I originally had the R5 to test a couple months back, I felt that the colors were a little bit different from the traditional color signs that I was familiar with Canon. So I wanted to actually test the white balance between both cameras in specific temperatures to see if there would be an issue. Well, I set the temperatures at 2500 Kelvin and this was the result. Then I set the temperatures at 3500 Kelvin and there's the result that you can review. And finally, I set the temperatures at 5500 Kelvin. There you go. From what I was able to tell by viewing it on my screen and off of the editor, is that both versions seem pretty close. The only difference that I was able to find was when I had custom white balance, and that could just be because of the reference picture that I used was slightly different in both situations. All in all, there is almost no difference. And I use the color profile fine detail. It's a pretty well saturated color profile so that I can see, when the colors are really popping on the 5D Mark IV and the R5, will they be any different? And it turns out they're pretty much exactly the same. So you could use one as a camera A and the other as a camera B when you're out shooting in different scenarios. So that's what I was able to find and test when it comes to comparing the R5 and the 5D Mark IV. Very close when it comes to performance in autofocus, and pretty much identical when it comes to color performance. Let me know if you like this video. My goal was to get you guys to be tempted to subscribe if you haven't already. But if you do and you have subscribed, then super thank you. I definitely appreciate it when you guys subscribe to my channel. But as always, leave a like, leave a comment. I will answer anytime. And if you haven't already, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys next time.